We're live. Okay, we're live. Welcome back. We will go.
I think last time we were together, we heard, and Kirby was gonna draft some new language for us. Yes. About fish and wildlife stuff. And then also I was hoping to hear from Kirby explaining the Senate SGO construct. Because we actually haven't had, we didn't have time to go over it in committee, I'm sorry.
Okay. I don't know if it's fair to ask Kirby to explain our thinking, but.
Well, I don't even know what like the language does.
Okay.
Kirby to explain.
Okay, so.
Yes.
Come on, yeah, come on up.
For the key legislative council. Let's first observe that Representative Kimball did not get the memo that there's supposed to be races today. The only signal. Wow.
Off the boat.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
Oh, no, yeah, yours is brown.
I was wondering if this would call me out on that. Some people run with a herd, such as Senator Hardy.
They're true.
Such a senator party thing.
I'm kidding. Pesky details. Okay, so would you like to talk about SPOs or the language you had me draft for today first?
Your call. Let's do the language of draft first, just to tie something up on the boat that's tieable to the boat. Okay. Or a Windsor. I think isn't that a
Windsor not?
isn't that a Windsor?
These are modified.
That's how you try to.
Take them down.
Okay, Kirby, sorry.
Yeah, it's a Friday yet. This is usually how my committee gets on Friday.
We sure do. Okay, so I took a look at the fish and wildlife sections and taking into account what happened in H.933 with the current fish and wildlife fees that were added to statute there, and discovered that the fee for the conservation camp tuition was not added to statute. Which changed, you had asked me to draft this so that the rules would be repealed July 1, 2026, because the fees would go in statute on July 1, 2026. Last time you had asked to have the rules go up until the day that the statute takes over, was my understanding.
Okay.
But realizing that the tuition's not included in statute, I'm not sure exactly how that would work out on the ground, whether it would cause a problem for Fish and Wildlife, but I think I reached out, I haven't got a definitive answer on that, so I would just say maybe just keep it 2027, and basically the rules will be on the books for the tuition only, because the statutory fees get superseded.
Is that we put on the Fish and Wildlife bill, we put the present fees and we missed.
Yep, the conservation camp tuition that $300 is something that was in the regulation, but it's not in.
Oh,
And that's gone, we can't.
wait, it's not, that's the bill that we.
If not, there might have been a reason, I wasn't present when that was added, but I mean, my assumption is there was a reason if Fish and Wildlife was involved, that there was a reason why they wanted to keep the tuition as a rule thing and not a statute thing, that had to have more control over changing it.
Yeah, I don't know why it wasn't, I was under the impression that everything that was in the rule was in that amendment, that's what we were told at the time, so I don't know if it was, there was a reason or if it was an oversight, but they were involved with Senator Brennan to put that amendment together.
So just check.
Yeah, so for the purposes of your work here, I think it may be okay to allow the rule to be repealed July 1, 2026, but again, there might be questions of whether they can collect tuition after July 1, 2026.
Okay, let's work with that language for now while we wait to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, what I have is, I have two versions of it, but I have a draft 1.2 that sets the dates at 2027.
Okay.
So this is the safer route as far as the tuition goes. And the other version would have a second instance of amendment changing the effective date, but I keep it at July 1, 2027 for the repeal. For this, so there's no instance to change the effective date. And then I also have a second instance of amendment, which is some clarifying language in the TIP area. This originally said,
This is the Burlington.
what this change does is avoid any confusion about whether you're saying that it's always been the law that there was a 75% share for Burlington, because pre-2010, it was different than that.
Yeah.
So to avoid any confusion around that, it's changed to just reference the Joint Fiscal Committee change on September 10, 2009, which changed the increment to 75% for Burlington for education tax, 100% for municipal. So that's what this effectively means, but it just
is reflecting the current situation.
it's reflecting the current situation without trying to confuse the question about the past.
And we had testimony in committee from both the auditor and Burlington and someone else that this language or. Thank you.
I think. Yeah, that just says the ninth, it's always, changes nothing to what we did, it just makes the statutory reference clear. Okay.
Yes, both suspenders.
Like,
So that's what we have so far.
Thanks.
okay. So with this language, all the fees, the Fish and Wildlife fees, rise right now in the Fish and Wildlife bill. And they're fine with keeping the rule in place just in case
Something happens to that bill.
something happens to that bill, or yeah, we've got that bill coming back in here today. Which one? I think wherever we
Yeah.
put the PFA unavoidable containers bill,
I don't,
health and welfare is having apoplexy, so
yeah,
that section is coming out. We put it in as a favor to natural resources. It's coming back.
where I think that, I just talked to the Senate Chair of Natural Resources, and she said of doing a substitute amendment, having our committee do a substitute amendment to just do the fees and not the fluorine containers, but I don't know if everything's been decided, so we could fix the
We could
fee
fix
if we
this
want to
if it
add
was
that,
fixed.
if that was an oversight, that we should have added the 300. I don't know if it is or not, or if that was an intentional thing to be left out. We could
We're
add
certainly
it.
making secret about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And if you plan to take the route that we just talked about, if you decide not to change the statute and wait, like this would work for that, just so you're
Okay.
aware.
okay.
Well, could you go back to that for a second? Because I think the concern of the agency was having to go through rulemaking again.
Yes.
And so if,
They will have to go through rulemaking for the tuition.
Unless we added.
And actually, before going back to this, I'll show you in the bill why that is.
We need to just hear from them, because I think part of it is they didn't want to have to go through rulemaking.
right.
So the way that section 21 changes 10 VSA 4132 is that it takes the fee setting authority away and then it regrants some more limited fee setting authority. In the first part, it says that the department may issue licenses for research, academic study, commercial use, or use of regulated utilities, and set tuition for the conservation camps. Those are the things that they are allowed to set. But then under 2, it says the commissioner shall adopt by a rule the fees to be charged. So the rulemakings require them this. So that's, I think that's something to be aware of. It's a question I have because if the rulemaking were optional, there might be more flexibility with what we're doing, but it's not. So they are going to have to, in order to set fees for tuitioning for the camps, they will have to do that by rule.
Unless we change it.
Unless we put it in the, right?
Unless you put it in the statute or change some of the language here and make that more flexible.
Yeah. Otherwise, anytime they want to make a change, the belief they have to come back and ask us for a change in the rates, which we likely want to do on the camps.
No.
Right.
Because it probably pricing those and say,
Yeah.
again, what they have to pay to get council.
Fish and Wildlife have their own, Parks and Recreation, right? They have their own set of fees they charge on the use of the state parks. Different.
Well, that was your amendment, so. Right.
If you all have that other bill, and you can put that last current statute, that seems good.
Yeah, we could do it if everybody decides that's what we want to do, and it makes it easier.
But it'll be the same.
Yeah, I mean, it would be on the floor tomorrow, but,
So we'll add to that. No, we want to add to that. They can still set the commission.
no, I think what we're talking about is adding the tuition to the list of fees, but it might be helpful to hear from at the department and see if there's a reason why they don't want it in
I
there.
think they expected to adopt the rule about the tuition, which
Okay.
which I gleaned from that
Okay.
they knew
Okay.
that it was time. So
That's
Okay,
intentional.
that's fine.
Then we don't want to work out. And this 27 language fits, works. Yes.
Yes, okay,
yeah, this works whether you do that or not.
okay.
The worst case scenario is you've got a useless regulation on the books for a little longer. Okay. Okay, saying
Yeah.
it'll be useless because of the suspension. So you'd like to walk through the Senate version, okay, of SGOs.
Yeah.
So under this language, the governor or designee every December 1 would submit a list to the U.S. Treasury to identify the SGOs that Vermont recognizes as organizations that the taxpayer could donate to, and then through that donation to claim up to $1,700 federal tax credit. The federal law is written so that these lists have to be provided to the U.S. Treasury by January 1 of each year, except there's some leeway for the first year as this is set up, the first year being 2027. So that's the first part. There's also some language here about a presumption that an organization that was listed the previous year will be listed going forward. And that is to give some stability to donors who want to know that, if I'm going to donate to this organization, can I have faith that it will count when I go to claim my tax credit? And then subsection B, there's an organization shall not be listed unless the organization meets the following criteria. Number one, it qualifies as a scholarship granting organization under the applicable federal law. Two, it's a nonprofit organization with the core mission of providing educational opportunities to economically underprivileged students through after-school programs, summer programs, tutoring, and similar programs. So the thing to understand here is that the emphasis really on it's on the core mission is has to involve those things. Beyond that, this particular provision does not require anything specific other than just having a core mission of doing those things. The third provision says all grants and scholarships provided by the organization are to students attending a public school or an independent school that's capable of receiving public tuition. The fourth was added by Senate Finance, and this does narrow the requirements.
So are these all ands?
These are all named.
Okay.
So the fourth one was added by Senate Finance, and it's what I think is probably the most narrowing provision. It says all grants and scholarships provided by the organization are for students to attend a program that is partnered with or approved by a public school or an independent school that's capable of receiving public tuition. So this does require that all grants and scholarships are for students to attend a program.
What is it? What does it mean to be partnered with or approved by?
That's not defined here. There's a,
I was thinking like in Milton, we have the Milton Family Community Center. It's a nonprofit. They provide the Milton After School Kids Program, and it's done at the school. So we do our after school programming, the summer programming, but it's
I can understand it like that way. I guess I'm like for the like actual structural setup of it, like is partnering defined as having an MOU? Does it prove by like for the whole thing to actually be like implemented and supervised by the administration? How will they actually know whether something is partnered or approved? If the word if approved or partner doesn't have like any formal paperwork attached to it.
I think there's a great deal of concern in my committee about funding private schools. And so they want to make sure that whatever gets funded, and I have some concerns, we may be limiting it because there are day camps that kids could go to that are independently operated. But they wanted to make sure that this was going to something that had some connection to a public education system.
And I appreciate the intent of it a lot. I just think we need to define what either of those things mean in order just to be able to implement it.
Well, one thing is that it wouldn't be the governor and his people that would be figuring this out. It would be the scholarship granting organizations. They're the ones that would have to make the determination that the program that they're giving the scholarship to is partnered with the schools. So it's one level down from the governor. The governor would approve the SGOs, and the SGOs would be able to get the money. And then they would be required to give out the grant.
And I would imagine if either the administration or say the IRS wanted to audit the SGOs about whether they were operating in accordance with the law, they would need to be able to find out whether the scholarships were delivered to something that was partnered and approved.
Correct. I mean, I agree that partners is a little squishy, but
Okay.
it is that the SGO that would have to do it. And I do think we added language about kind of like an auditing language.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
there is that. I think my answer to Representative Bernard's question would be for purposes of the governor designee deciding whether the SGO qualifies under Vermont law under this, they would need to have some kind of guidance or interpretation of what partner group means. If you do nothing more, it would be up to governor designee to define that. The fifth provision is requirement of the SGO in determining whether to award a scholarship award a scholarship, the organization does not. Because of race, color, etc. This is all, this same requirements that an employer would have to follow when hiring.
Did you all talk about whether this would? I know that there are certain places in statute now where saying this kind of thing is like not, I know that in like a contracting capacity, it's okay to say this and have it stand up to court case. But in other cases, it's not. And I just like, how does that all, did you all talk about that? I'm sorry, I don't have the right words for what I'm asking.
I don't recall.
Like, I know that anti-discrimination language, for instance, doesn't hold up in the case of, say, independent schools. And public dollars. So what is it defendable in this context?
I think so,
Okay.
because it's a
This is about
different context.
eligibility?
It's a different context. This is about whether the organization is going to participate in something voluntary to benefit them.
Okay.
It's not about rights, really. It's a different line of
Okay,
question.
thank you.
Yes.
That's helpful.
Okay, so subsection C, annually honored before January 15, each scholarship granting organization listed in the previous calendar year shall provide a report to the committees on education, providing the following information. And do you want me to go through all of the information? It's a lot.
Who, I'm sorry, can you go back to who provides the report?
It's the organization that's to
Okay, thank you.
provide a report on all of their activities, if they have been listed in the report.
So if there are multiple SGOs, we're talking about multiple reports.
Yes. Subsection D is in the governor's discretion. The governor may audit an organization seeking placement on the list or a program receiving scholarship funds under this section to ensure the organization meets all the requirements for placement as provided by this section and applicable federal law. And then there's a provision: the governor shall not list an organization the governor knows is not in compliance with the requirements of this section or 26 U.S.C. section 25F. That provision is there partly just to have some state law on the governor being required to follow that, because the state, it would be awkward for the state to try to force the governor to follow federal law.
What is 26 USC 25 C5?
25 F is the section on the tax credit program, and then C5 are the requirements that SGOs have to follow.
Okay.
For the tax credit program. And then subsection E, if the Attorney General finds that any provision of this act is rendered invalid due to a federal act, federal agency rule, or court of competent jurisdiction, the AG shall submit written notice of invalidation to the governor, the speaker, and president pro tem, that the provision is invalid. Then upon receipt of the notice provided under subdivision 1, either the governor or the governor's designee can provide a list to the U.S. Secretary of Treasury under subsection A until the General Assembly is enacted a decision addressing the invalidated provision. And I made sure that the general counsel at tax, who is part of the AG's office, knew that this is being considered. So
Oh, that makes more sense. Thanks. Forget. Okay.
I haven't heard any feedback about thoughts about that, but they are aware. So that's all.
Did you all talk about like postponing the enactment of this for a year just until the treasury rules are finished? So you don't have to have that.
We definitely did.
Okay.
And I think, it was kind of a risk balancing thing. If they invalidate it, okay, we're nowhere. If they let it go, if it's okay, then some kids have lost a summer of good of educational experience, which for some kids could be very important. Um, and so it was, and which side did you take the risk? Because this, I would say the distrust was at a high level of both veterans. And so we tried to make it so that the kids could get the opportunity as quickly as possible. Some of them will have aged out by next year, or other things will have happened. So that, I think, was, we tried to write it as tightly as we could, so that if the federal rules don't allow this, then nothing goes forward. If they do, then it can move.
The other question, our construct was to reserve the right to opt in for the General Assembly. But not the governors. We wanted control of that from a taxing policy standpoint. What were your thoughts on transferring it back to the governor?
I think we got feedback from the governor that he felt he had a role to play in this. He is the head of the government, and I think we were trying to find common ground. So this, if this doesn't go through, it's either going to move through like this, and all he really gets to do is choose the or name the SGOs. If it goes forward, it goes forward. If it doesn't, it's all back in our lap next year. So we will move forward then with what are we going to do? If we can't do anything, then we can do okay, we're out of here. But that's one.
Can I ask a question of Kirby about that? Because I don't remember the answer. If this construct were to move forward and go into law, and then the Fed rules come back and they say no go on this doesn't work. Doesn't it default to the governor? It does get to choose and move forward? Or does it default to the governor? The legislature has to authorize the governor to move forward.
That wasn't our intent.
Because of subsection E, if this goes into law and part of it's invalidated, then subsection E wouldn't be validated. So in that case, the governor would not be allowed under that subsection to submit a list. If you do nothing at all, then the governor can submit a list.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. There was a thing about that would revert to him, but this would be everything stops. This
Yes,
there will not be submission. And just trying to think of things that could happen if somehow the subsection E were invalidated. I don't see that as likely.
Sharknado.
If there's a Sharknado and subsection E is invalidated, then of course subsection E will not be able to stop cover. But the thought is what's most likely to be invalidated would be the parts of sub B. That's probably 3 and 2, 3, and 4.
I don't think that's the intention of Congress. That we've on. But again,
you know what the intention is.
what's the worst? The worst thing that's going to happen is we're going to get a bunch of private schools get some tuition assistance for 1 year, and next year we come back and say no. It's not an irreversible harm.
I think our overall committee concern was, to some degree, it was where's the money going, and like federal loopholes and like allowing federal tax loopholes and the integrity of the overall tax system. But I think the biggest thing for us was actually delegating our authority to the governor on tax issues.
Is this on the tax?
If nothing happened with this bill, you could still, as Vermont resident, give the $1,700, it just go to the state.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can still get the benefit as a taxpayer, just the children won't get the benefit as getting exposure. Insane.
Residents face you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks. We'll think about that all. Appreciate it.
I don't know the other side of this.
Oh, it's, tis the.
I think it's a good reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was-
I mean, and I
was
think for, I think
paranoid, but it was-
for folks who are following sort of the history of this section of the federal code, there were much bigger dreams for it originally, and it was quite, it's quite.
I think we all, where some people would have liked to have gone, but I think the argument he said to us for education was, look, if we could use this and provide robotics camp to some kid whose parents could never afford it, why not? Yeah.
So we'll think on that, and maybe bring you some counter proposals on it. I'm happy to close up that TIF language if you are happy to close up that TIF language.
That's okay.
Yeah.
The other one we have.
I think we need to talk for a budget conference to get totally clear on that.
Yeah, that was also not in the budget.
Yep.
And I think they will.
Yeah.
They will have a priority.
Don't say that, Anne, especially not.
They have a bill. Okay.
Okay.
We still on the USDA.
We haven't yet.
Maybe they want you to give them a couple and the days out of the year.
I don't have anything else right now. Do you all?
No.
The section, just one question, section 55A, I have a note that we are still going to talk about that. Is that, that's the date change.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Do we want to, do you have questions about what we did? Do we want to talk about it?
No,
Whether
no
we can
question.
check it off or not?
I have neither questions nor am I ready to check.
Okay, okay.
It wasn't our idea.
Okay. No, I imagine that was some
It
faster.
was a text.
Yes, absolutely.
Was it that?
Do you have any other questions about this?
We did not touch your coupling and the coupling.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Did we still have anything on 50? Yeah, we haven't said that. Pilot. Right. We talked about your Chris on that.
That is.
And so not today.
I think he's still, I did not today him yet, so I don't want to stay in that morning.
That is also my transportation.
Yes. We, the T-bill needs to close before we can price this bill, unfortunately.
But it sounds good.
So I guess we'll see you all whenever those
Find
three
an extra
can
hour.
settle themselves.
Okay.
Okay,
Good to know.
thanks.
Then we-
I don't mean that the bargaining, I mean just like.
No, I
They have to,
understand.
yeah,
Order of
yeah.
operation.
Everything
Yeah,
is
yeah.
moving in tandem and
Indeed.
that.
Mhm.
Thank you. Kirby, do we need to do anything with the Fish and Wildlife bill while it's in here? Or are we just going to let it ride with that fish camp tuition? with
I
the fee
think
not set?
For purposes of 933, if we just keep the regulations going until next summer,
Okay,
then it doesn't matter what you do with that other, with the other bill.
Okay.
If they're not in statute, then it will mean that the department will just have to adopt rules before next July
okay,
to cover just the camp tuition, presumably.
okay. So I don't have just
One last
storing
amendment.
unintended cartridges.
Run that by me again.
So the miscellaneous and fish and wildlife bill had added the fees that were in rule into the statute, and it's effective this July. But one of the items was not included there. It's the conservation camp that Fish and Wildlife runs. They are currently under their rule. They set tuition for those camps. And since that won't be in statute, they'll need later to do a rule on that. But 933 repeals the rule. So we're talking about in the language for 933, putting that repeal in on July 1, 2027. So there's time
For the conservation camps.
for the conservation camp. So there's not a question of whether tuition's allowable or it's able to be legally collected during that time.
That got sent to us, Senator Brennan brought in the amendment, and it just, that why don't we just set present ones in law? We haven't just heard this, so we haven't been able to talk to him or Fish and Wildlife. We don't know if they intended to leave that out.
And that bill will still need to come to us.
Yeah. Or
So-
so the,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because we're against it.
so we don't know, so I assume that if,
It seems like if that passes, we're good. If it doesn't pass, we're still good.
yeah, I think we're.
Either way, they still have the flexibility.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's, understand?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.